New York.
Apple.
Hot dogs.
Dollar.
Hollywood.
Democracy.
Freedom.
Rock and roll.
Wall Street.
Statue of Liberty.
Los Angeles, California.
McDonald's.
Jeans.
Bubblegum. Video games. Nintendo.
What's so great about America?
Every Saturday night, 7 to 9 p.m., explore American culture and language.
With Master Steve,
Ina MK,
And Hazva QT.
tune in to find out about what makes America so great.
The Great American Weekend. Listen exclusively on Radio Van 103.1.
Also, watch us on the Radio Von Facebook page, website, and mobile app.
It's April the 13th, and we're back in our studio. The full team is back in here.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Hazva
Hey.
QT.
Am I?
And I'm here with Master Steve and myself.
Ina MK.
Hey, guys.
I'm so glad to be
I
back.
missed the team.
I missed you guys so much. You know, I really love you guys, and being here it's just like such a joy, and to be here and available to all of our listeners, and especially today's theme on health.
Yeah. Aramas is the star tonight. You guys will find out about all the details later on during the show. And I'd like to remind you that you can watch us live on www.radiovan.fm and also our official Facebook page. And soon, in about half an hour, we're going to have a special guest, Dr. Taro.
Dr. Tro, as
Tro.
they say in Dr. Turo in Armenian, Dr. Tro in English. Yeah. Full disclaimer, he's my brother.
Yeah.
And also
Brotherhood episode tonight.
Yeah, it's a family affair today. He's Dr. Tro is a doctor of. He's been practicing internal medicine as a doctor of osteopathy, and he just opened an office for medical weight loss. And he lost a bunch of weight over the past 3 years. He lost about 40 kilos, 150 pounds in American terms, about 41 kilos.
Time out.
Osteopathy.
What is that?
It's
Master Steve doesn't know the meaning of a word.
Stump doctors. Stump
All
Master
that doctory
Steve.
stuff is not my area of. I know nothing about doctors.
From what I understand, osteopathy has to do with the manipulation of bones. It has more of an Eastern approach. This is my impression, but I could be completely wrong. So don't take my word for it. Don't take me too seriously.
Okay.
We'll take your
we
brother
never
seriously.
do anyway.
So, guys, what is health?
I mean, that's a good question, right? Because typically, we think of health as being not sick, right? I mean, if you're not sick, then you're healthy. Or am I right? I mean, I'm not ill. I don't have a cold. I don't have, cancer or pneumonia or anything like that. So I must be healthy, right?
Well, I remember a saying from Soviet times, which said "healthy body,
From the
health."
Soviet era.
Yeah, from the Soviet times.
So with a Russian accent, please. With a Russian accent.
We have sayings back from USSR.
Excuse me, young man, comrade Hazva. I need to say something.
Comrade, drug.
Healthy body houses healthy soul.
I love that saying.
So what do you think about this one? Because I would think that it's maybe the opposite.
Well,
when you have a healthy spirit, it causes you and motivates you to have a healthy body. Or maybe both. What do you think?
I think that, there's another saying that I remember in America was health is happiness. Health is wealth and health is happiness.
Oh, I like that.
And it's kind of similar to healthy body houses a healthy soul. I don't think that it's like necessarily you need one first and then the other. I think both kind of grow.
Complex fusion.
Yeah. Because let's say the lighter you are or the healthier you feel, the less stress you feel and the less complexities that you might have in your life. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, maybe I think the more you feel good, the less you're stressing out about stuff. Yeah. Oh, placebo effect does wonders. Sugar pills.
So I mean,
what
if you
do you
feel,
think, Master?
I think I think they're interdependent. I mean, or if you feel good emotionally, psychologically, then you're going to do things that can help you feel good physically, and vice versa. I mean, if you're taking care of your body, then you feel good physically, and then you can feel good emotionally. I think they're interrelated, very much so.
And when this happens, you sing, I feel good.
James Brown, the Godfather of Soul.
I know for a fact personally that when I feel good in my body, I feel good in terms of my mental health is much better, because there's more of a self of confidence. Your body feels you feel energetic, and that energy and the confidence it kind of resonates, and with all of your relationships with people and your the things in your everyday life, you just have a better relationship with things. There's more joy, there's more positivity around you. So
there's more to being healthy than just the absence of illness. You can I feel okay. Does that mean you're healthy? Like either mentally or physically? I mean, I'm okay.
Here it comes, philosophy guy.
Yeah, I mean,
they're always stuff to doubt.
To be healthy, do you have to be in good shape? To be physically healthy, do you have to be in good shape? Do you have to exercise? Do you have to be able to, walk up 10 flights of stairs without losing your breath? To be mentally healthy, do you have to be happy?
I think that's why I use the term to kind of escape this relativism, because there's a relativity, because you're pointing out something really important, which is if I feel good, does that mean that I'm healthy? And what does that mean? And I think it really comes down to someone feeling comfortable within their skin, and that might mean something different for other people, although there are, let's say, terminal diseases that you might be comfortable with, and so that's where the relativity might ensue, I think. But in general,
I'm dying, but I'm okay with that.
I think,
actually, that I think
but
would be.
I feel good.
Seriously, I'm dying, but I feel good. I mean, it's just to a certain extent, that's like
how
being
we are. Yeah, being healthy.
Ultimately, psychologically well-adjusted to a certain extent.
Exactly.
Well, all of us are dying, to
life
be honest.
is a terminal disease. Life is a terminal disease.
So if I try to summarize us in this intro episode, I'd say to be healthy means a complex of different aspects. I guess for me, healthy person is someone who is in harmony with the world, with nature, with his own inner world, body and soul, thoughts and mind. How do you like this? Does this sound okay?
That sounds well-rounded to me. I could not disagree with that. I agree with everything you said.
And you have to agree that it's time for a break now.
If I could 3 seconds.
He doesn't have to agree. He simply has to accept.
Yes, acceptance. Yes. Vitality, energy, and the feeling of being alive, I think, has a lot to do with health. And the more alive we feel, I think we're on this path towards health. That's how I would say it.
Thank you. What does it mean to feel alive? What is health? How do we diet? And much more about our bodies right after the advertisement break.
Whose bodies? Sorry.
Everybody's bodies.
Everybody's bodies.
About being a bodily creature.
Stay tuned. This is the Great American Weekend with Master Steve, Hazva QT, and Ina MK.
Come and hang with us every weekend. It'll be a blast.
A blast?
Yeah, a good time.
No, come chill with us. It'll be cool.
Chill?
Yeah, relax, hang out.
Come chew the fat with us.
Yuck! No way! Join us
on the Great American Weekend, where we'll help you decode American slang.
Welcome back to the Great American Weekend here on Radio Vaughn. I'm Master Steve. I've got Ina MK to the right of me and Hazva QT to the left of me.
What?
Yeah. Welcome back.
And I'm stuck in the middle.
Stuck in the middle with you, Master Steve.
So we're talking about one of the most important things in life, health.
Yes.
Spiritual and physical and
Well,
much
I think
more.
let's focus on physical health today, because we have
Sure.
a medical doctor joining us after this next break, right?
Yeah, we do. We've got Dr. Tro Kalajian that's
Can't
joining
wait to
us
welcome him.
Joining us all the way from Palisades, New York. He'll be joining us via Viber, via satellite. It's interesting to talk about physical health because me personally, as you guys know, and maybe some of our audience, I've gone through my own personal transformation this past year and a half, 2 years, and I've been overweight for most of my life, from childhood until through most of my adulthood, and it's really it's been a real struggle for me. It affects everything from commonplace things like sitting down on buses to getting clothes to intimacy, your self-confidence, and it's really interesting when you kind of find this key that opens the door to something that kind of gives you this freedom. And for me, that was a diet or an approach to food that was it's suitable to me. It was the ketogenic diet. And what that basically is eating foods that are low in carbohydrates throughout the day, not having more than 20 grams of carbohydrates, which over time produces ketones in the body that starts to utilize fat as energy instead of metabolizing carbohydrates for energy.
So how much is 20 grams? I mean, for those of us like me who are like weights and measures stupid, how much is 20 grams? Can you give us an example? Is that like a handful of pasta, or is that...
You cannot eat pasta.
Well, so not all carbs are created equal. I'll say that first. But to give you an example, to give you a measure, like one medium-sized apple would be about 25 grams of carbs. So that
wow.
There's also subtleties like offsetting fiber content inside of what you eat, which changes a lot of things. But really, at the essence of it, what it is that you are trying to keep your blood sugar from spiking. So it's not necessarily like if you have 20 grams of chocolate, and which has sugar inside of it, it's completely different in terms of its effect on your body than if you're having, let's say, whole grain barley that's been boiled, which also has carbs in it. But
how about barley that's been made into beer? Going back to last week's episode.
Yeah. I mean, if it's beer, that's also... So there's something called a glycemic index. And what the glycemic index is that it measures the metabolizing, the amount of insulin required to metabolize sugar in your body. So there are foods that you eat that have carbs in it that they digest slowly. So the slow digesting carbs kind of release sugar, release the carbohydrates in your body in a slow way that does not affect your blood sugar as intensely as, let's say, something like white bread, which is pulverized flour that just dissipates and decimates your pancreas and causes you to increase your insulin, your blood sugar.
Insulin?
Insulin is what is produced by the pancreas that helps to metabolize glucose that's found in the body, in the blood, that's metabolized from food that we eat, so that it can be turned into energy.
Glucose?
Glucose. I know this is kind of complex.
Cool.
This is why I don't diet, because I don't understand it. It's too complicated for me.
You're
no,
fine.
it's not because you don't understand it. It's because you don't need it. Okay, Steven. Thank you.
No, but I mean,
and I would like to remind you that I have some quotes here, just pending.
I love
no,
quotes.
we can. Well, let's get to the quotes after the guest.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, how much? Because we've only got like 3 minutes. Your quotes are always so good, and they're good to. They're good
thank
conversation
you.
starters.
That's
so I
a
think
relief.
let's. But so we're talking about carbs, which is energy, right? Are there other types of energy that you can put into your body besides carbohydrates?
Yeah. So what's interesting about the ketogenic diet is that when you start eating a low carb diet, your body starts to shift from metabolizing carbohydrates for energy and starts utilizing fat. An interesting fact about our body is that we require two things in order for it to function: essential fatty acids and essential amino acids. Fatty acids are fat, and amino acids are protein. So our body, at its essential core, has been programmed over millions of years
Evolution.
or thousands of years to utilize, to utilize fat and protein as a means to have energy and to have a healthy body. Now, what has happened since our agriculture age is that we have easy access to fruits, to grains, to pulverized wheat that makes it so that we have efficient energy source. So when you do a low carb diet, fat is your main source of energy, and you start to burn your own body fat as well as the fat you consume. So yes, fat becomes your energy source, and if you give up the carbs, you can start eating healthy fats that become your energy source. And I'm getting a wink from Mina that we got to go to break.
Yeah, it's like burning advertisement to have energy for the show.
And when we come back, we'll have our guest, Dr. Tro
Tro.
Kalajian, on the air, and looking forward to seeing you all back here.
Yeah, we can't wait to welcome him in this studio virtually. And I'd like to let our listeners know that right after the advertisement break, we're gonna listen to a song, Queen, by Jesse G, and I love the lyrics to it. You guys listen to him, and we'll talk about it later, so stay tuned.
Hey, Steve, do you like Chash Harisan Spas?
Yeah, I love them. But what would you call them in English?
Yeah, I'd call them cowfoot stew, chicken porridge, and sour yogurt soup.
Sorry I asked.
The Great American Weekend.
We're back in the studio, and I passed the word to Hazva QT because he is the master QT.
He's the master of
tonight.
ceremonies
Master
tonight.
QT.
Wow,
Master
it's like we
QT.
became one, Steve. Thank you. I caught your words. So we're going to be, in a moment, we're going to be calling Dr. Tro Kalajian, who's in Tapan, New York. And full disclaimer, he's also my Harazat brother, which in Armenian means my actual brother.
Yeah, instead of like brother, but really cousin.
Yeah. And we're going to be asking questions about health, about healing, and about how diet and exercise can actually help you to get off of medicines and big pharma concoctions that might not be necessary for you just by changing your diet in a way. So
Before we do it, I want to warn you. I have plenty of questions about my starting diet, so don't you dare to steal those from me.
okay. Well,
Okay,
go
thank
for
you.
it. I
Thank
think
you.
this is the time.
Okay, let's try
I'll
to
wait
call.
until I'm given permission to speak.
No.
We're
I did
call-
enough talking
Not
last
that
week.
bad. Not that bad.
I'll raise my hand.
We're calling
Attention.
Dr. Tro live right now. Let's see if we can get him on there. Hey, Dr. Tro. So glad that you can make us. We're here with Master Tro. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Let's have a technical check. Check. 1 2 1 2. Welcome to the Great American Weekend, Dr. Tro. Happy to meet you. We've heard so many good things about you from Aramast. Now we're ready to learn from you as well, right here on air.
Yeah, so our episode today has been about health, and I kind of shared a little bit about my own personal weight loss, journey, and I wanted to ask you, what is a doctor's perspective on health? How does someone get healthy? Can't hear. Not healthy. No hearing.
Dr. Tro, are you here?
Can you
He's
hear?
there, but he can't hear.
Can't hear. All right. We're experiencing a little bit of
Some
technical difficulties right
difficulties.
now. Can you hear us now? No?
It's okay.
It's
this
like
is
it's
our
like the
very
Verizon
first-
commercial. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear us now? No?
Can you hear me now?
Nope.
Nope, still hearing nothing.
Oh.
Maybe we can
All right.
retry to call.
All
Okay,
right, let's
do
try.
it.
Let's try that call
Okay,
again.
don't
give
go
him another
anywhere,
ring.
Dr.
Ina, if you-
Tro.
What kind of questions did you have, Ina? Just as I'm starting to call him now.
I have plenty of questions, like both about Armenian food, whether it's healthy or not, because we always think that Armenian food is so healthy because we have organic meat and all
Well,
the
it's not necessarily
dairies.
organic. It's just old-fashioned.
Thank you. You just
I mean, that's...
you just like pull the tomatoes and eat them with a ground. And it's so organic. Well, I'm joking, of course. And as a starter with this keto diet thing, I would like to hear his opinion about
Okay. Yeah.
keto
Well,
diet.
yeah. I mean, it seems to be the diet that's in fashion right now. You know,
It
everybody's
really
doing
is.
it. Everybody who's on a diet is on a keto diet. But there's always a question with those sorts of things. Is it healthy? So yeah, asking a doctor about a diet that you're on is usually a good idea because, you know,
I want to hear a professional opinion.
professional opinion. Yeah. And
Hello,
at
Dr.
this
Trump?
point,
I know, Adamas, you've lost 150 pounds now or more. And imagine, I have patients coming off of diabetes medications with the weight loss and eliminating the sugar. I have patients coming off of insulin, which here in the States is very, very expensive. I have patients coming off of blood pressure medications. So all this is very exciting, and I'm happy to share it with Radio Von.
Thank you for your answer, Turo, Dr. Turo. And and I have a question, which is really. Can you hear me now?
Make it really
Yeah, I can
clear
hear you.
and simple.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So as a keto diet starter, I hear a lot of rumors around about this diet. So I would like to ask number one questions that I have. Can a keto diet combat fatty liver? Thank you.
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, the question was about the first question I think was about cholesterol, and the second question was about fatty liver,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. So there's a question about how cholesterol is affected by the keto diet, and there's a question about how if you can cure a fatty liver with the ketogenic diet.
Yeah. Okay. So the first things first. So cholesterol, a ketogenic or low carb diet does not poorly affect cholesterol. Full stop. Okay. When you
Okay.
lose weight, okay, on a ketogenic diet, your cholesterol will improve. Okay, will improve. Now, especially the triglycerides, okay, which are very high in most patients on the modern diet. So if you are eating Pop-Tarts and oatmeal and cereal, your triglycerides are through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And your good cholesterol, your HDL on a ketogenic diet will improve as you eat more fish and nuts and chicken and beef and eggs. Your good cholesterol and Greek yogurt and cheese, your good cholesterol will improve. Okay? And these are very, very protective. Now, the question is what will happen to the bad cholesterol, the low density lipoproteins?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens in about 2/3 of patients, it will either improve, especially if there's weight loss, or it will stay the same. In 1/3 of patients, it will increase. Okay? Now, there is a special population which will see an increase, a substantial increase in the quote unquote bad cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens when somebody gets very, very, very lean on a ketogenic diet. So for example, one of your co-hosts, Adamas, has lost 150 pounds on a diet. Now, if we had checked his cholesterol, I'm sure it would be down. As I see this fairly regularly, when there's that substantial of a weight loss, the cholesterol improves. Now, let's say at this point, when the fat cells are much smaller, and when all the triglycerides are drained out of those fat cells, because now you're burning fat, your body's burning fat. What happens when somebody goes to a very lean phase on a ketogenic diet, that's when they can see their cholesterol come up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
but there's no evidence that it's that it's dangerous. Okay, there's no evidence that it's dangerous. Okay, so overall, the good cholesterol improves. The triglycerides go way down, and the bad cholesterol, on occasion, it can go up, particularly once you get very lean. Okay, so that's the truth about the cholesterol. Now, the question is what happens to the liver?
Yep.
A low carbohydrate diet is a verifiable way to improve fatty liver. Okay, this has been shown very recently. We have 2-year studies on people with low carbohydrates, and there is a resolution of fatty liver.
That's awesome.
So if you eliminate sugar, if you particularly eliminate sugar, processed carbohydrates, so that means, and most fruit except berries, the liver fat will get better. The liver fat will get better. Okay?
That's fantastic news.
Amazing. Well, this is very exciting and motivating, Dr. Tro. Can we ask about vitamin deficiencies? Yeah, sure. It's Steve's.
No, I was going to ask about the cholesterol. And so he covered that already.
Okay. What about the vitamin and mineral deficiencies? There is one of the myths of keto diet. So
the best way to fix your vitamin and mineral deficiency is to eat eggs, meat, fish, chicken, and Greek yogurt. Okay?
That's what I do.
To fix your vitamin deficiencies. And another excellent way to fix your vitamin deficiencies is to have cacao, asparagus, zucchini, peppers, spinach, broccoli, and the like.
Woohoo!
And so far,
eat real
I'm
food.
describing exactly a ketogenic diet. So if you want to fix your nutritional deficiencies, you should eat those foods, which seem to me to be that doesn't include Pop-Tarts and cereal and bread. These are not nutrient-dense foods.
I saw that. There was a post that you had shared recently that showed it takes 30 to 60 minutes to lose 500 calories, and that it takes 30 to 60 seconds to eat 3 Pop-Tarts, which is equivalent to 500 calories. So.
Yeah. Well, so a lot of times patients will ask me, Dr. Tro, can you tell me whether I should be exercising or not? And so that's the question they ask me. And I think exercise is very beneficial. It has very unique metabolic improvements that happen with exercise. So I believe in exercise. But the question is if you are addicted to sugar and if you are addicted to processed carbohydrates, and you go and work out, the first thing that's going to happen after you worked out for an hour and a half is you're going to be hungry. And you can undo a lot of the benefits of exercise in minutes if you're eating donuts and Pop-Tarts and, oatmeal and bananas. And so it's very easy to overdo it if your diet is not in check and your cravings and food addiction are not addressed.
Sounds about right to me.
And I promise my last question before you guys have.
Ina has so many questions for you, Dr. Tro. Ina's just starting the keto diet, so she's super interested.
I'm excited, and of course, I've done my homework with the questions. So thank you for all your detailed answers, Dr. Tro. And I'll have to ask my next question. So it is, they say the best motivation for self-improvement is to fall in love. But most of all, to fall in love with yourself, to fall back in love with yourself. What do you think? Do you agree? And how, if so, how to do this? How to love yourself again?
What an excellent question. This is a very good question that you're asking. Okay. What an insightful question. I'm going to answer that question first by starting, you said you were interested in starting a ketogenic diet. one of the most important things when you start, okay, is if you're on medications, you need to talk to a doctor, because medications, there's some interactions, particularly diabetes medications, okay? So that would be my first. Diabetes and blood pressure medications will need to be adjusted. So if you're thinking about starting, I really highly recommend you either, really talk to your pharmacist and doctor so you understand the implications. Second thing, when you start, okay, you have to drink a lot of water and salt your food.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my other bit of advice. So your body will lose water and salt in the beginning because all the processed food that we typically eat is filled with salt, and when our insulin level drops, we start to lose the salt and lose the water with it. So make sure you stay hydrated and make sure you add salt to your food. So that's the first bit of advice. But now your question is self-love.
Yep.
This is the most important question, actually, because a lot of times people come to me. For example, I just had a consultation, somebody who wanted to consult me, and they are getting divorced, losing custody of their kids, lost their job, relocating, and yet they want to lose weight. And I challenged this patient. I said, do you really think it's an appropriate time for you to start a significant attempt at weight loss? So a lot of times, this type of person will see a slow progress, and this will discourage them. Okay? Whereas normally, they would have been gaining weight under these circumstances.
Yeah.
So people need to understand where they are in their lives, need to forgive themselves, love themselves, and enjoy the journey. Each one of the missteps that you run into is a place for you to learn about yourself.
Thank you so much.
Each one of the trials and tribulations is a way for you to figure out more about yourself and to understand your relationship to food. So self-love is very important, okay? Because
thank you.
If you are too hard on yourself, okay, it will add to stress.
Yeah,
and it will make it harder
that's
to lose
right.
weight.
Dr. Tro, we love your comments so much that we would like to come back with you after the advertisement break. So do you mind staying there, hanging there while we're having this break?
Do you have time?
That's not a problem. Yeah.
Վարչապետ Նիկոլ Փաշինյանը հեռախոսազրույց է ունեցել Ղազախստանի նախագահ Նուրսուլթան Նազարբաևի հետ.
Oh, could they just speak a little bit slower?
Don't worry. You can catch local news, events, and culture in English every Saturday on Great American Weekend.
Welcome back to the Great American Weekend on Radio Vaughn. We are here, the three usual suspects, and our special guest,
and the fourth
Dr.
element.
Tro. Yeah, the fourth element.
Hey, we're here with our special guest, Dr. Tro Kalajian. He's on with us for another 5 minutes. I wanted to first of all thank you for your time and for sharing some of your knowledge. I had a question real quick, if you could answer about. Are there age differences? Are there body type differences? There are a lot of people that I know when I talk about the ketogenic diet that speak about, I don't know if it's for me or my body type, or my body doesn't respond that way, or I don't lose weight that way. Is this something that you've seen overall? And if there are subtle changes, what are the primary or the majority differences that you've seen in people's responses to these types of diets or other diets that might be used to help people with weight loss and with overall health?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. Look, ultimately, obesity, diabetes, weight loss, liver disease, the cause of all these is modern food, okay? And the fact that we do not have to move as much as we used to. Okay, so modern food mixed with the fact that we do not have to move as much as we used to is the cause of modern disease and chronic disease. Okay, so is there a body type that responds better? Yeah, younger, more muscular people will respond better to the modern crap diet that we have. Okay, it's more forgiving. All right, the muscular and metabolic health and youth is more forgiving. Okay, and as you age, it becomes harder to lose weight because your metabolism goes down and your muscle mass goes down. Okay, so there are age differences. There's also sex differences, you know, and it's particularly in postmenopausal women. When that estrogen goes down, their total metabolism also goes down. So everybody has different metabolics and everybody has different hormones, but ultimately, if you want to cure modern metabolic disease, you have to eliminate modern food. Okay, and so you know, a lot of these patients come to see me and say, I don't know what it'd be like to live without cupcakes and Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
You know, you cannot have that kind of mentality if you want to fix modern chronic disease, because it is the modern food. In fact, it's not just us. The rats and the raccoons in New York City also have a diabetes and obesity epidemic. And why would rats and raccoons have a diabetes and obesity epidemic? Because they're eating our food.
You know, it's funny
and
you
they
say
don't
that.
have to go far to get it.
The bears in Colorado, when I stayed there, were eating food out of the dumpster from McDonald's, and they all had been tagged. They had been analyzed over time to have had gained weight because their food source was all this very processed and very rich foods that were generally not real. And it sounds like what you're saying is real food for real health, as whole as you possibly can eat of food would
Correct.
be.
Yes. Eliminate processed food is 90% of the work. If you have diabetes or liver disease, consider also eliminating sugar and processed carbohydrates. Okay. And then whether it's whole food plants or whether it's only meat or somewhere in between, this that is a personal preference and a moral, you know, conviction if you have. But for the most part, anywhere in between those two places, and including those two places, I consider a fairly healthy diet.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tro, for joining our show tonight.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
I wish we had you all the way through.
Yeah, it's like I wish we could have you like once a month for like a doctor's checkup.
Yeah, let's add a block with Dr. Tro.
I don't know. He's got to get back to work, apparently. He's seeing patients today.
Yeah.
If we keep having him on the show, he might start billing us.
Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Tro.
And sharing this information.
If there's any final word you want to say, go for it.
No, I'm just look. If you have diabetes, if you have obesity, if you've struggled in the past, it's because you were given the wrong advice, and you do not need to be discouraged. You can do this. Get involved with Keto Armenia or the Facebook group or the Rockland and Bergen weight loss group, or visit my website www.drtro.com, spelled out DOCTORTRO.com. I'm very responsive on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. You can reach me there if you have any questions.
Oh,
thank you very much.
We're
Dr.
gonna
Tro.
do it. Thanks
Have
a
a
lot.
great day, and talk to you soon, bro.
Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
We hope that we'll get back with you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I kind of cannot make myself now do the news thing. What do you guys think?
Who wants to start with the news?
Oh, and now what a segue to news. So now we got that news for health. Now we got we go from news for health to the news around the world.
And you need to tell a little bit about your death story later during the show, Adamas.
Okay.
Well, I mean, this first article is actually an interesting segue. So there's something that involves technology and the medical field that I've always been interested in, and it's not necessarily something news, like it's brand new news, but it's something that's really interesting to share.
Okay.
There's something called the Cybathlon. And I don't know if you guys heard
Haihubathon? Haihuba what?
The Haihuba what?
Spit marbles out of your mouth, please.
What did you say?
He's just making up words now.
Yeah.
Our show has just finished its last episode.
They're coming to take us away.
They're coming to us.
Because the red phone
to
just
the funny
rang.
farm. Oh no.
So, have you guys heard of the Cybathlon?
No.
From you only, so
All
go
right.
ahead.
So, imagine cyborgs. Now, what are cyborgs? They're a combination of machine and man. And around the world, there are so many people who are disadvantaged, either without limbs or nerve damage or nerve disease. And so what they've done is they've created an Olympics, basically, or a competition for people who have either missing limbs or who have nerve damage, and with different engineering groups and computer engineering groups. And they join together to kind of compete and see how they can enhance the lives of people who, even to the extent of they might have brain damage. And so they actually integrate computers into brains so that they can give more mobility and more accessibility to people who might not otherwise have it. So that's not necessarily something that's news related, but it's something interesting to share.
That is
Something
interesting.
important. But I'm pretty sure that not very many people know about this. So
So I've got some news, and I'm going to make it related to health, because I think that this guy is not mentally healthy.
Ooh.
I don't think he's like, maybe he's not diagnosably mentally ill, but there was a flight from Minneapolis to Phoenix yesterday. I just saw this news story earlier today. An American Airlines flight. Okay, this 25-year-old man was walking around touching the faces of other passengers, and he was spraying them with some sort of a liquid in a little spray bottle. He was acting very, very strange, right?
Are they still alive?
Yeah, apparently nothing happened to them. They don't know what the substance was that he was spraying them with, but just weird.
That's spooky.
You're trapped on an airplane with this guy who's going around touching your faces and spraying stuff on you and just acting apparently strange in other ways beyond just that. They kind of apprehended him and brought him to the front of the plane when the plane landed so that they could get him off the plane first, and he broke free of them, popped open like the emergency exit or whatever, and jumped out onto the tarmac, onto the runway, and tried to run away. But it was a 10-foot drop, so he hit the ground and he apparently hurt himself and couldn't flee. So they arrested him and took him into custody. He's being treated at the hospital for his minor injuries.
And then he sprinkled himself with that liquid and disappeared.
Yeah. Just a weird story. And it caught my attention, of course, because I'm from Minneapolis. So this guy is probably from Minneapolis. Weird people. I mean, like I said, he's probably not diagnosably mentally ill, but he's certainly not mentally healthy if he's going to start doing weird stuff like that.
Well, should we be worried about you, Steve?
Most people from Minneapolis are crazy. Most people are crazy these days, I think.
True. It's true.
We're all a little off our rockers at this point.
I also have got some news, nutrition-related news, I think. Some good news for lovers of culinary art. Yeremyan Project opened Yerevan's first ever culinary art hospitality academy. And they will train high-class staff of restaurant and hospitality sectors for both local and international markets. The academy will hold special culinary and hospitality classes for beginners as well as professionals of the sphere. The opening of the academy was on April 8th, and the Culinary Academy is approved and by the United Kingdom Activate Learning Group, City of Oxford College. So everything is official, everything is international. So for those of you who want to gain new skills in cooking, service, customer service, also they teach languages besides this. So if you guys want to learn and to have a new profession, maybe you can go ahead and join this academy. At the Academy Laboratory Cafe, visitors and guests will be able to view the skills and the education process of the future chefs and waiters.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's great. I mean, I'm really interested actually in possibly even participating.
Which should mean that the restaurant scene here in Yerevan will get even better. I mean, how it's changed in just the last 5 years is incredible.
We could possibly have a guest chef come on our show and do a cooking demonstration.
We could do that. And we could also invite one of the representatives of this academy to tell
come and feed us.
Come and feed us.
Come and feed us on air, so all of all the members of our audience can just sit there and hate us because we're eating good food and they can't participate.
And this is how spontaneous concepts are born, y'all.
And I've got another musical news, actually. Did you guys know that?
Are you going to sing it? You have to sing it. If it's musical news.
Deep Purple lead singer Jan Gillan and Black Sabbath guitar player Tony Iommi will visit Armenia in June 2019.
Cool. Now, why is this? Because it seems really odd that, Tony Iommi, who's most famous, of course, for being the guitarist for Black Sabbath, why? What? Huh? Why? Armenia? Why are they coming here?
Because they're going to mark the 30th anniversary of the Rock Aid Armenia charity project, in which they have been participating for the 30 years.
And how did that start? 30 years ago? What happened 30 years ago that all of a sudden these rock stars wanted to do something for Armenia? Because neither of them have any connection to Armenia. They're not of Armenian descent. They're, even less Armenian than I am.
So this all started from the earthquake back in 88. And we need to go on an advertisement break.
Oh, shucks.
We got to pay the bills. Do you think we could have a charity event so that we don't have to have advertisements?
We get rid of the advertisements.
We could do like a donation run on one of our episodes.
Patreon?
Yeah, like NPR be like
a telethon.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a very American thing, telethons.
Yeah, exactly.
So this event will be a thanking, also we'll have a thanking ceremony to these two great stars who have been near this project for about 30 years, and they have been supporting the victims of the earthquake, the families, for all these years, supporting different educational project, building schools, supporting families who lost relatives, who lost their homes, and also which includes the concert itself. So it's going to
they're going to play?
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that. They're going to play. Sweet. Iommi live in Yerevan.
Iommi, I like you.
We're gonna celebrate this news during the advertisement break, and we'll be right back to talk about health and much more. The Great American Weekend.
Hello?
Hi, is your refrigerator running?
No, it doesn't have any legs.
Some American jokes just don't work with foreigners.
I'm glad that it wasn't a joke about running nose, Aramas.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm glad none of us are sick, so we don't have to make that joke.
Is your nose running?
Nose running. It's running towards...
you better go catch it.
Current events. It's running towards current events, and I'm smelling...
more on the news.
I'm smelling on the news...
I'm smelling on the news?
Yeah, I'm smelling...
Explain that one to us.
It smells like
on
news.
It smells like a leak. A leaky nose.
A leaky nose?
There you go.
Not a gas leak, I hope.
A wiki leak.
A wiki leak.
So, I don't know, have you guys heard about this? So apparently Julian Assange, who'd been kind of quarantined...
Held up.
Inside of the Ecuadorian embassy in the UK for 7 years. Imagine being indoors for 7 years.
He had a balcony, and he could go onto his balcony and speak to the people and hold press conferences and pretend he was Mussolini.
He had guests, but apparently after 7 years, the Ecuadorian embassy shut off his internet, and the U.S. had extradited him
They've requested extradition, but there isn't. The British judges haven't decided on that yet. In fact, members of parliament in England are saying that if, Sweden, who wanted to bring him there for this investigation into a sexual assault case,
it was Sweden.
if they want him, then they get priority over the U.S. Or at least that's what the MPs in the British Parliament are pushing for and suggesting.
That's correct. And for me, it sounds, like it's really interesting because the sexual assault case, that's something aside that needs to be investigated and everything. But from the side of the United States and their extradition, what it means from my perspective is that there is someone who is, akin to a whistleblower who has, by whatever means, received information that might be sensitive for American interests, but also could be something that's revealing akin to an Edward Snowden type of swath of information that might need to be released to the public so people know what's happening, but could also be detrimental to, let's say, intergovernmental functionings, or maybe the deep state, which is kind of a buzzword these days.
The black helicopters.
Yes, exactly.
New World Order.
The silent helicopters, which exist, by the way. That's how they got Osama bin Laden. So now what's interesting is that he sees himself as a journalist, because what journalists do, they investigate, they collect information, and then they report on the information they've collected without trying to reveal the sources that they receive it from. But from the United States, they see him as a threat to national security because the sensitivity of the documents that have been released. So there's this ethical conundrum here that's kind of in play with the U.S. extradition. With the Swedish extradition, it's up to the investigation to see what the results are. So it's interesting to see what happens next with what the UK courts decide.
Yeah. Well, and I think what's interesting about WikiLeaks is with the internet now, you can dump, and really what WikiLeaks has done a lot of times is just document dumps.
Yes.
Which is, it's something that's kind of new in the internet age, because in the past, if you get leaked information as a journalist or a reporter, you have to sort through it and decide what's important. What do I need to put out and what maybe shouldn't I put out, and all of this different kind of stuff, because you only had a limited amount of space in a newspaper or a magazine or on a radio show.
It's true.
And so you had to be selective. Now with WikiLeaks,
you can put anything.
They dump tons, thousands of pages of stuff at a time sometimes. And so it's not really curated, I suppose you could say.
I remember when there was a set of embassy cables that were released. And I remember me personally searching for Armenia so that I could see the U.S. embassy. And what was really interesting to me was there was one embassy cable that was released that had a list of all of Armenia's oligarchs and all of the ownership of all of the companies that were under their power and what positions they held in the government. And for me, that was kind of the beginning of planting the seed of information, so that something that was commonplace information in Armenia, but it was important for it to be identified as a list. And it was interesting to know that governmental agencies also are aware of these things and aware of who owns what in terms of, the kind of the oligarchic rule that exists in many of the post-Soviet nations.
Thank you, boys, for your analytical dialogue. And now we need to go on a break, after which we're going to listen to...
Yeah, speaking about having limited time on radio, we got to watch our time because we got to go pay the bills again.
Sometimes it's better to have restrictions rather than... rather than having trash on air and in the...
What, trash on air? What,
no, I mean...
gold. This is alchemy. We're turning trash to gold.
That's what you mentioned before regarding WikiLeaks, okay? So we'll be back after Red Hot Chili Peppers' Love of Your Life. And talk more about what we've prepared for you: health, body, nutrition, and diets from the Great American Weekend.
I would never live in America.
Why not? Didn't you enjoy your time there?
Yeah, why not?
It was good, but it wasn't great.
Because you didn't know us when you were there. Join Ina MK, Master Steve, and Hazva QT for a great American experience.
Every Saturday on the Great American Weekend.
And we're
Welcome back to the Great American Weekend here on Radio Vaughn. So we've been talking about
a dynamic show tonight. I love it.
We've been talking about health today, and
what about
no
my
matter
quotes?
how,
I'm bugging.
no matter how healthy
Yeah.
you are, you're always. I mean, there's one thing that's inevitable, is death. And if you're a U.S. citizen,
my favorite topic,
there's.
You're a U.S.
Let's talk
citizen.
about death.
I like that. If you're a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, if you're
death and taxes.
Lucifer is here on air.
There's an American saying that there are two things that are unavoidable.
Mm-hmm.
It's death and taxes, right?
Yeah. What about taxes?
And that's what I'm getting to. So
nice transition.
every year on April 15th, Americans have to file their taxes. And taxes in the U.S. are different from taxes in Armenia in a lot of different ways, but the primary one for individuals is that individuals are personally responsible, legally responsible for paying their income taxes. So in Armenia, the way that I understand it is that your company pays you, and the money that they give you as your salary, you get to take home free and clear. The government has nothing to do with that. The company that's paying you has already paid the government your income taxes, right?
Yeah, it's about 30%.
It's the company who employs you. It's their responsibility to pay your income taxes. Right. Legally, it's their responsibility. In the U.S., it's the person's responsibility. So you have to gather up all of your information from the previous year, put it together, and fill out all of these crazy forms, and file your taxes and pay any taxes that you owe to the government by April 15th every year. If April 15th is a weekday, if it's a weekend, then it's the following Monday. So last year, April 15th was a Sunday. So taxes were due on the 16th, which was Monday. So typically,
Black Monday.
an employer, well, actually, no. For a lot of Americans, it's a good thing, because what happens is that employers usually withhold some of your taxes. So if you sign a contract in the U.S. saying, you're going to get paid $50,000 a year, your paychecks, if you add them all up over the course of the year, don't add up to $50,000. You don't get that much money. Your company takes some of it and gives it to the government for you. And this is, to make sure that irresponsible people don't blow all their money and all of a sudden on April 15th owe the government like 10 grand and don't have it. Because then the government would have to, they'd have a hell of a time chasing people down to get that money. So what you do is you file your taxes, and a lot of times you end up getting a refund. You've paid more than you actually owe. So April 15th is usually a good day for a lot of Americans because because they file their taxes and they find out how much money they're going to get back in a refund. So if you've done things well throughout the course of the year, you usually get some money back.
Oh, that's good news.
Yeah. So
that's
tomorrow
a good
is
way
tax
to
day.
motivate people.
But Hazva and I don't have to worry about that because we
don't
live
file
outside.
our taxes ever.
I don't know about you.
It's that time again.
If you spend more than 10 months out of the year outside of the U.S., then you get certain tax breaks and deductions. You also get an automatic extension. All you got to do is fill out a little piece of paper and sign it and send it to the IRS, and you automatically get, I think it's an extra 6 months. So those of us that live abroad and file our taxes usually don't have to do so until maybe September or something like that. So that's taxes. It's the other thing that every American citizen can avoid. You can't avoid death and you can't avoid taxes.
Something that I can tell you that I'm kind of that kind of makes me happier about living abroad is that when you live inside of the United States, your taxes that get collected and then get used by the government is usually an indicator of your support for how the government functions. And when you are in the minority,
involuntary support.
Yes, exactly. And so when you are
unless you
not
want to be like Thoreau and end up in jail because you don't want to
pay taxes, yeah. So if you're not in agreement with the way that the government is functioning or dysfunctioning, then there's an inherent
dysfunctioning.
There's an inherent disconnect between your money that's being collected and then what you feel you receive in terms of the services of the government, and it's the road upkeeps and the tolls and the bridges and the the infrastructural aspects, then the social aspects. And I mean, for me, the major concern has been for me the amount of wars that have been created in the name of democracy throughout the world by the American military in many countries where we don't necessarily need to be there. And usually there's this underlying doubt or question. Perhaps there's something I don't know that is of a special interest for the military that I might not know. But the sheer budget, $550 billion for a military, which is like 10 times the next level, the second largest military budget.
I mean, we live in the age of the Pax Americana, the American peace.
Hey, Master, we are ready for another music break, but before, could you share a couple of words of slang that we had connected with our theme? Like
Let's see.
Big bone.
Yeah, I mean, and these are, I have to be careful not to be offensive with any of these, but it's incredibly rude to call somebody fat. So we've come up with, in American slang, all sorts of ways, all sorts of euphemisms. You can call somebody big boned. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're big boned. You have big bones.
You just have big bones.
You've got big bones. That's why you look so big. You're festively plump.
Yeah, plump.
I like that
chubby,
one.
Chubby.
You put a little bit of weight on over the holidays. Hey, man, I'm festively plump. Which actually, I think I got that one from South Park way back a long time ago. Chubby.
Chubby bunny.
Yeah, plump. Curvy, which could mean a few different things, but
yeah.
Curvy could mean you're a little overweight, or it could also mean that you're shapely. That's another one. Shapely, like attractive.
Yeah.
You've got a double chin. You've got some little bit of fat down here under the chin that hangs
belly.
down. Beer belly, yeah. Beer belly. If you got a little bit of a gut hanging out here around your stomach, you can call it a beer belly.
That's a good
a party ball. A party ball. You get a beer belly from drinking too much beer. Butterball is another one. You can call somebody beefy, but that usually also kind of means that you're not just you're not obese, you're not overweight. Maybe you're muscular if you're beefy. Roly poly. Twiggies if you're really skinny. Skin and bones.
Skin and bones.
Yeah. Thin as a rail.
We're gonna listen to a song.
That's enough.
Enough for now.
That's
enough for your railing on.
Yeah, railing on about
I still hope that I'm chubby, and
chubby,
not fat.
You're festively plump.
Oh, thank you. Such a good compliment. Music break, and we'll be back.
What's the best word in American English?
My all-time favorite word is but I usually refer to it as lovemaking.
Become more fluent in American English and slang.
We're back with lots of questions and no time, as always.
And the most beautiful American word, which is fuck.
Thank you.
He just had to slip one of those in.
I just had to. I've been away for so long. I just had to.
Just one.
Pace
yourself.
Just one.
We've
per
got
show.
plenty of more time to
show.
drop the F-bomb later on in the year.
I'm trying not to be so greedy these days and be more giving. So
because you're used to diet, also cursing diet. This is what it is. Hazva, I would like to ask you your opinion, since you have a big experience in in dieting and having this healthy lifestyle. What do you think about Armenian cuisine? Is it healthy enough? and your opinion in general, and maybe some stories.
Let me take you a little bit
connected.
around the world with this one. So
Yeah.
something really beautiful about Armenian cuisine worldwide is that there are these different fusions of flavors that happen with Armenian food. So what we notice here in Armenia, there's kind of like a primitivist approach to cuisine, which is kind of like barbecue with salt, simple, not too many spices, whole foods, which has its real place in terms of healthy food. Then in, let's say, the Middle East, you have the kind of Arabic influence with
Spicy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it has more like tabbouleh, which is parsley-based salad. You have hummus and baba ganoush or mutabbal, which is roasted eggplant with
Zatar.
tahini. Zatar, which
I
is
love it.
sumac spice with sesame seeds. So it's very vegetarian. And
You're making me hungry.
I know, I'm making
Sorry.
myself hungry too.
Hazva, I have a personal question. Can we use zatar in our keto diet?
I'm not sure. I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, please check that one for me.
But to continue with your question, I recently had an experience. I went to Istanbul on a 4-day trip, and when I was there, I discovered there was a restaurant called Josh, established by this man, Daikt Mirjanyan, who's a generational Armenian, has been living in Turkey for many generations, since before the genocide. And he has a restaurant there that's been out for 10 years, which is kind of a challenge for an Armenian to outwardly have an Armenian restaurant in Istanbul because of the cultural nuances there and still kind of like this animosity towards the cultural differences that's opening up in these later years. But what I discovered was this totally different cuisine that had a deeper origin to what Armenians traditionally ate there, that has its roots in this Ottoman or Cilician kingdom set of dishes that I had never experienced before. So I would say that Armenian food could be really healthy from many different perspectives. And from my recent really intense experience in Istanbul, the cuisine and the culinary part of it, I would say to you is that, yeah, there's a lot of healthy stuff that's out there.
Great to hear that. And what about your personal experience? We have another few minutes, so please sum up the show because you are the real person to do this.
Yeah, I've never had such an intense 3 or 4 days in my life in terms of my own physical, because I was really exhausted before coming to the trip. It was sleepless, emotional because of being Armenian in Turkey, and having that experience is always kind of challenging with the history and the story. And
So
then,
was it your first time there?
It was my second time, but this time it was more centered around meeting different Armenians from Istanbul that are generationally living there. And that's really kind of what contributed to my spiritual intensity, was that there are people there that they're few, but they're proudly there. And I met a man who made his fortune with marine products that were pressure sensors and piping, that focused all of his energies on making art collection, having an art gallery and an art collection solely focused around Armenian artists and supporting our Armenian artists. The Daik Merijanyan, who I mentioned, has a restaurant that's solely focused on Armenian cuisine. And then my friend Nayat Geragos is the program director of the Hrant Dink Foundation, and she's basically establishing a very creative art exhibition there called 23.5 that's taking Hrant Dink's offices and transforming them into an exhibit to showcase his fight for justice and human rights and freedom of speech in Turkey. In case you don't know, Hrant Dink is a journalist that was assassinated 10 years ago in front of his office at the Agos newspaper. So every step of the way, to answer your question, there were locked doors that each of these different people, a person involved in the arts, a person involved in the culinary arts, and a person involved in the literary arts, they all had a key to open a door that was locked. So the art collector, Ono Ayvaz, opened a door to a church that was nearby that was locked. The restaurateur, Daik Merijanyan, gave us access to go to the island. There's an Armenian island, Kanalda Ada. That's an Armenian island off the coast of Istanbul,
Yeah, and I think they're all Armenians after the spring break, right?
Yeah, yes, Armenians and Greeks, yes. And the place was, because it was early spring, there were no tourists there, so things were in renovation, and the place was closed, and they opened it for us and just gave us a seat on the ocean side. The offices of Hrant Dink were closed for renovation, and the door was opened in order to show us the progress of the exhibit. So there's this really intense experience of having these locked doors open, which made me feel the importance.
Symbolic, yeah.
From them, all of them expressed this desire to have this shared cultural exchange with Armenia, the nation.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this desire expressed from these inheritors of the old Armenia from the Ottoman Empire that, many Armenians lament the loss of, but they feel like they are the representatives of. And so instead of this lamentation for, I think, getting lands, I think we need to start connecting with the life that's there and the people that are there, and have this cultural exchange start to flow between the nation and the people who are the inheritors of what is our birthright. Yeah.
And we need to open the locked doors in our hearts, I think.
I think so.
and also open the door for another advertisement. We'll be back with, thank you, Aramas, for sharing your experience. We'll be back with calendar of events, sharing for you for upcoming week. Stay tuned. We have another 10 minutes to go, even less.
Oh, say, can you see?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed?
Adamast, what are you doing?
He's trying not to forget where he came from.
We're back in the studio. Thank you all, guys, for listening to us, being with us all for the past 2 hours. Thank you for
single one of you.
So many. Our 2 hours isn't up yet.
Yeah. Yes. Right. And thank you for all the comments. For those of you who missed the show, it was incredibly useful. So I would suggest everyone just catch it up on Monday. We're gonna post the entire show for you to listen and learn. And now we're gonna start our calendar of events for upcoming week.
Yeah, so at the Yerevan American Corner, every Monday at 3 p.m., they have their reading club meeting. And this week, they'll be reading an excerpt from Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling and discussing the key points of the story. This is geared towards people that have at least an intermediate level of English or higher.
Mm-hmm.
So if you enjoy a good story and want to practice your English, expand your vocabulary and your speaking and listening skills, go and check that out Monday at 3 o'clock. And then every Friday at 3 p.m., there's the Teenage Club at the Yerevan American Corner as well, where you can improve your English and learn more about American culture and lifestyle. There are games, discussions, group activities, and tons of fun. You can check out more activities on their website, which is americancorners.am.
Thank you, Stephen. And what do we have with the movies? Hazva?
I'm going to do this one in a Russian accent because every single movie in Armenia has Russian somewhere, somehow. So
okay.
These ones are in English, man.
Doesn't
These
matter.
are in the
it has
original
English
language.
subtitles. It has Russian subtitles.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Really?
Not always.
Yeah.
Not usually. The cartoons don't.
Well, the cartoons, I don't know.
Okay,
I've only gone to see the cartoons.
Time, guys.
Okay.
Time.
Let's move.
Okay, ready?
Keep it moving.
Movies in English at Yerevan Mall, Kino Park, April 14th to 17th. Hellboy, 4:40 to 8, then at 8:40 p.m. Shazam, 5:10 p.m. And then Pet Cemetery, 3:05 p.m. By the way, this is horror movie, so you might be very scared.
So grab your diapers. Okay. Festivals, April 20 to 21st. There is an Easter festival in Burakan, so make sure you do not miss it. Classical music. April 17th at 7 p.m. there is La Traviata opera in 4 acts at Opera and Ballet State Theater. A great one, by the way. April 18th at 7 p.m. a special concert dedicated to Komita's 150th anniversary at Opera and Ballet State Theater. Also, April 19th at 7 p.m., Spartacus. I'm gonna buy a ticket for my mom.
And you're not going to go with her?
No, I'm gonna send her with one of her friends.
Nice.
Ballet in 3 acts. It's a girl night out at Aram Khachaturian. It's the composer is Aram Khachaturian, and it's at Opera and Ballet State Theater. There is live music performances, so for those of you guys who want to go and hang out and listen to some music and have a drink or eat something, here you go. April 16th at 9:30 p.m., Freeform Jazz Band and Marby at Mezzo. April 17th at 9 p.m., a great electro guitar player from the UK,
Yeah,
Ben
this guy's
Poole.
Ben Poole.
Yeah.
And he's
Blues and rock.
Blues and rock.
Mhm.
He's played Albert Hall. In fact, I think his latest album is live at Albert Hall. He's got another show here in town as well. But I strongly recommend that you check him out at the venue.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be playing. It's a smaller, more intimate venue. And then afterwards, rumor has it that some of Armenia's best guitar players will get up on stage and they'll have a little bit of a jam session. So if you're into guitar, check that out.
We're going to host
the
him
venue.
at the radio station as well during our morning show, Glumov.
I know. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm jealous
and
that we couldn't
we were
get
so
him.
jealous that it wasn't Saturday, so you guys
Yeah.
can enjoy his interview in the morning. April 21st at 9 p.m., Freedom is Expensive. FIX, experimental electronic power duo, guitar and drums.
Yeah, and this is
Yeah.
one of the many side projects from the guys in Bombeer.
Bombeer, yeah.
So if you like Bombeer, but you want something a little different, this is an electro duo, guitar, drums stuff. It's the same great musicians and
With a
feel,
new drive.
with a new kind of style.
Sounding.
Yeah, new
April
sound.
21st, Stop Club. Make sure you purchase your tickets beforehand. April 29th at 9 p.m., Vahagan Hairapetan Quintet at Mezzo. Also, we have some stuff. We've got some parties at the clubs tonight. Tonight at 9 p.m., Mikhail Voskanyan featuring Beatman, DJ Beatman, Nancy Moves at Revolution Bar. It's gonna be experimental duo with electronic music and also Mikhail Voskanyan playing the Armenian instrument. April 14th at 10 a.m. Sunday morning under One Triven Micro House Vibes. It's all about daytime clubbing. Morning clubbing, I would say.
Morning clubbing.
Movie screening, April 16th at 8 p.m. The Great Dictator, 1940, by Charles Chaplin, screened in original language with English subtitles at Stop Club.
Wait, no, at the club.
The club.
And,
Excuse
I mean,
me.
It screened in original language. I think it's a silent movie, isn't it?
That's what they wrote.
It just has subtitles and music. But yeah, check that out, Charlie Chaplin.
I don't think
if you've
so.
Never,
Actually, this one
if
is
you've
not.
Never,
This one's not silent.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, okay, maybe you're right. But I mean, Charlie Chaplin.
Master Steve,
yeah.
ABC check. Ta-dam. Okay, and I would like to end this with a quote. Okay, and there's an expo April 14th at 11 a.m. AGBU celebrating its 113th anniversary, throwing a Sunday expo bazaar peppered with an Armenian gastro market, a fashion show hosted by Armenian designers and women entrepreneurs, project alumni, the announcement of the AGBU inspired photo contest winner, and a celebratory reception with live concert by Rina D, our dear friend, colleague, and great singer.
Love
and
you, Rina.
Shiver band. So hello, Rina. Good luck to you. I hope we can visit you that day. It's tomorrow, by the way.
And fact check, Wikipedia is telling me that it is a
9
silent
p.m.
movie.
Oh, okay.
The Great Dictator. Even though sound films were happening, Chaplin continued to make silent films.
Master, and the clock right here is telling me that we're done.
Oh, no, it was his first true sound film. Oh, no, you're right. It was his first one. My
Steven.
timeline is off.
And I would like to end tonight's show with a quote. Health is health is a relationship between you and your body. Terry Gilman.
And like all relationships, it takes work.
It
and
takes
effort.
work and effort. And of course, the best thing in any relationship is having a loving relationship. So love your body, love your spirit, be in harmony with yourself, and so let it burn, meaning
and eat meat.
Let it burn, meaning fat.
Hey, if you're healthy, you can delay death.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter how healthy you are, you still
death.
have to pay your taxes on time.
Have a great rest of the weekend. Thank you, Hazva Master, for supporting me as always.
Thank you,
in this
Ina.
studio.
Thank you, Ina, for being such a
on the
fantastic
board,
co-host.
being in control.
I really enjoyed this episode, and it's good sometimes to miss each other and then reunite. I think it gives them
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah. I'll see you guys next Saturday with more interesting stuff prepared specially for you, English-speaking audience. And do not hesitate to write comments and all your suggestions.
Comments, please, comments. Yeah.
We're open and we are flexible. This was the Great American Weekend on Radio Van 103.1. Have a great Saturday night.